begin this morning, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Ms. Angela Funk, the President of the Student Senate. So will you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. A project of this magnitude does not come to completion without the work of many people, and we would like to introduce some of these people to you this morning before we get into the meat of the program. So starting up here on stage, and would you please hold your applause till we're finished, and it will facilitate this a bit. First, Mr. Richard Tormasi, Superintendent of Alliance City Schools. Ms. Angela Funk, Student Senate President. Mr. Norman Beal, President of the Akron-Canton, Ohio Council, Navy League of the United States. The Honorable Francis Carr, Mayor of the City of Alliance. Ms. Sarah Brown, President of the Board of Education. 16th District Congressman, Mr. Ralph Regula. Mrs. Pam Leanhoutz and Commander John Leanhoutz, U.S. Navy. Captain Robert E. Hart, U.S. Navy retired. Lieutenant Commander Mark Filippic, U.S. Navy. And also Commander Filippic's mother, father, and members of the family are here somewhere in the audience. And if you would stand at this point too, we'd like to recognize your presence here. They're right here in this row here. Thank you. Back on this side we have Julie Barkas, a member of the Student Senate of Alliance High School. Mr. Christopher Black, a Student Senate member. Jean Vokar, Secretary Treasurer, Navy League of the United States. Mr. Eber Grove, representing Charles Grove, who served as Chairman of the Alliance Aviators Jet Aircraft Fund. W. John Gross, Chairman of the Community Volunteers of Time, Services, and Material. Mr. Mark Henshin, Vice Chairman of the Alliance Aviators Jet Aircraft Fund. Dr. Harold Kohlenbrander, President of Mount Union College. Mr. Dennis Duffy, representing LTV Aerospace Transportation Company in Dallas, Texas. And we should also note that Mr. Duffy is a Navy pilot retired, who served tours of duty in Vietnam and is all the way here from Dallas, Texas today. Mr. Richard Elliott, who serves as the Alliance Area Chamber of Commerce. David Johnson, who was the president of the Spread Eagle Historical Inn. These are our stage guests. Also, there are some people in the audience we would like to recognize. First of all, the members of the Board of Directors of the Akron-Canton Navy League of the United States. Would you people please stand? Right here in the front row. Secondly, the members of the Community Volunteers of Time, Services, and or Materials that was chaired by Mr. W. John Gross. Are those committee members here? Would they please stand? There they are, some of them right there. Thank you. Mr. Charles Grove also chaired a committee of individuals and companies that contributed to the Jet Aircraft Fund. And would those representatives and people who are here please also stand? They're out there in the audience someplace. Mr. Grove, there's a member right there. Thank you so much. I would now like to introduce Mr. Norman L. Beal, President of the Akron-Canton, Ohio Council of Navy League of the United States, to begin our program this morning. Mr. Beal.
As a retired naval officer and the president of the Akron-Canton Council of the Navy League, It gives me great pleasure to be here this morning. I want to thank Mayor Carr and Sarah Brown and officers of the Navy. Certainly want to recognize you gents this morning. Welcome aboard. Citizens of Alliance, and most importantly, the aviators of Alliance High School. I'm here to just recognize the fact that we were able to acquire this aircraft and to turn it over to the City of Alliance. Sir?
Accepting for the City of Alliance, the Honorable Francis Carr, Mayor of the city.
Thank you. On behalf of the City of Alliance, I accept this aircraft with the appreciation of the efforts of the Navy League in securing it for us. We've come a long way in the history of Alliance and in the history of Alliance High School. Both had their beginnings before the advent of the aircraft, and both have a rich and proud history going back those many years. At some time many years ago, the name chosen to represent the Alliance High School was the Aviators. And during those many years up to the present, our Alliance Aviators have had some proud times, both in our classic old high school on East Broadway where I graduated and some of you down here in front did, and here now in our newer beautiful building. But it isn't the building alone, it's the spirit, and we in Alliance have it. And we're here today because of an unusual opportunity for the City of Alliance to acquire a United States Navy aircraft. The city is in turn presenting this aircraft to the Alliance Board of Education for the benefit of all to see and to be the symbol of the Alliance Aviators from henceforth. This aircraft here today is the result of much planning and work, and also donations of money and material, and has taken over 18 months from when I first requested information about this plane. And a number of people have been quite active in this project. The first man who came to me with the idea for it was Captain Robert Hart, United States Navy retired and a member of the Navy League. He was immediately joined by two chairmen, themselves former military pilots, Mr. John Gross and Mr. Charles Grove. They were in turn joined by a large number of civic-minded residents who donated time and energy and are listed in your program. We owe a debt of gratitude to all of them, for this wouldn't have been possible without their efforts. As I'm telling you, this was a group effort. And if I were putting on hats this morning, I could wear 4 different hats with much pride. One is the Mayor of Alliance, which is the greatest community that there is. One is a veteran of service with the United States Navy in World War II, and after all, this is a Navy plane, so I have another reason to be proud. One is a retired principal in the Alliance system who's happy and proud to be with our students on this day. And one is an old Alliance aviator from a great school. And so those are the 4 hats that I could wear. And so at this time, it gives me great pleasure at this time to formally present this A-7 Corsair aircraft to the Alliance Board of Education and Alliance High School. And so to Mrs. Brown and Mr. Tormasi and Mr. Backus, may it ever fly proudly in front of Alliance High School. Thank you.
Accepting for Alliance High School is Ms. Sarah Brown, President of the Board of Education.
Thank you, Mr. Zelasko, and thank you, Mr. Beal and Mayor Carr. Good morning. On behalf of the Alliance Board of Education, I am pleased and honored to be able to accept the Navy A-7 Corsair Jet aircraft from the Navy League and the City of Alliance. We are proud to become the first school system in the country to be entrusted with the safekeeping of such an important piece of naval aviation history. Our thanks go out to all the people involved in this project over the past 2 years who have helped to make this day possible, most especially Captain Robert Hart, whose dream and steam made it all come together. For me, this aircraft represents 4 very important symbolic points, which I would like to touch on briefly, and which I hope all the students here today will think about. First and most obvious, just as the 2 gentlemen seated on the stage are naval aviators, not pilots, but aviators, we are also all aviators, Alliance aviators. We came to be called the aviators in this way. In the mid-1920s, Charles Lindbergh flew over the city of Alliance. He flew low over the house of a friend of his here in town and dipped his wings to say hello. The following year, a drawing of Lindbergh's plane appeared in the Alliance High School Chronicle, and shortly thereafter, your school became known as the home of the Alliance Aviators. I think the aviator is a wonderful symbol for all of us. Unlike the tiger or the polar bear or any other 4-legged beast of prey, the aviator is a 2-legged, thinking, feeling animal, and to think critically, able to think critically and behave honorably. Secondly, this aircraft symbolizes the Alliance community's very significant contributions to the history of aviation. From 1927, when the Alliance Chamber of Commerce brought Adrian and Aubrey Hess here to found the Alliance Aircraft Company and begin construction of their Argo biplane, the first plane able to do an outside loop, as well as the Hess Warrior engine, down to the 1930s and 40s, which saw the growth of the Taylorcraft Corporation, which produced thousands of planes for the World War II effort and employed 1,800 people here at its height. Alliance has produced people with the engineering and technical expertise to make this industry grow, as well as countless aviators to make these machines go. Russ Miller, for many years a vocational teacher right here at Alliance High School, trained and encouraged numerous young aviators, many his own students. You may be proud that Alliance is known worldwide for its contributions to the growth of aviation. Thirdly, this aircraft symbolizes the pressing importance to all of us concerned with education in the need for the ever-growing improvement of science and technology. We have all seen most recently in the Desert Storm operation that in order to provide for the common defense, not only for ourselves, but for peoples everywhere who would be free from oppression, we must continue to be good at what we do, as well as do what we believe to be right. You students are all in the process right now of learning what you believe to be right and how to do it well. Learn hard. Lastly, as an instrument of flight, this aircraft symbolizes for me the freedom of flights of the imagination and the spirit which make us all exhilarated and whole. Children have always known that if you concentrate hard enough, you will be able to fly. Unlike the children in J.M. Barrie's Peter Pan, however, which you all remember, you don't need Tinkerbell's pixie dust to fly. You need all the knowledge and skills that education can provide. And once this is truly a part of you, each of you can soar as high as your own dreams and imaginings can take you. Fly high, Alliance Aviators. Thank you all.
Mrs. Brown? Mrs. Brown, if we could call you up to the podium again. There's been a slight change in the program. Mr. John Gross has a presentation he'd like to make to you. Mr. Gross.
The aircraft that's parked out in front of this high school is called an A-7 Corsair II Alpha model, one of 199 that were manufactured by the Vought Aerospace Systems of LTV Corporation. This aircraft is 25 years old. It was assembled in late of 1966 and reported on duty with the Navy on February 20th of 1967. For the next 10 years, it was assigned to 4 different Navy attack squadrons, VA-86, VA-174, VA-203, and VA-304. On September 28th of 1977, it made its last flight when it was flown to Memphis, Tennessee, the Naval Air Station at Millington, Tennessee. When this aircraft landed there, its flight log recorded a total time of 2,985 hours since new. For the next 13 years, this aircraft rested on the ground at NAS Memphis to be a ground trainer for Navy recruits studying aviation avionics repair. One of the many assignments I was given in this project was to fly down to NAS Memphis to inspect the aircraft, to assume temporary custody, and to make arrangements for its disassemblage and transportation here to Alliance. I was presented the aircraft's actual logbook by naval personnel there. So it is my pleasure this morning to present to the Alliance Board of Education the actual service log of aircraft number 153142, which now reports on duty with the Alliance Aviators to start another proud tradition.
I'd like to introduce a good friend of Alliance High School and a good friend of the City of Alliance, 16th District Congressman Ralph Regula.
Thank you. First of all, I want to congratulate all of the people who had a part in making this day possible. Great achievement and something that will have lasting inspiration to the community. Secondly, I want to bring you greetings from the nation's #1 naval pilot, the President of the United States. For those of you that might not know this, George Bush was a naval aviator in World War II, flew something like 80 missions off of an aircraft carrier, was shot down in the Pacific, rescued by a submarine, and continued to fly his missions. Now, he didn't have anything as fancy as this A-7. He had the old propeller airplanes and a much smaller carrier than these two young men here have to fly on, but nevertheless, he is what I would say, our #1 naval aviator. Also, I think we should all remember this morning that we have a great debt to the taxpayers of this nation. They're the unsung heroes that make our defenses possible, that make this education program possible. So let's hear it for the taxpayers. Now, the importance of this aircraft will be that of symbolism. Sarah Brown did a beautiful job of outlining some of those possibilities, and I would add to that airplane and the log that Sarah has will tell about all the missions that plane has flown. Why were those missions flown? To protect our freedoms, to protect our rights as citizens of these United States, to bring not only freedom to us, but other peoples around the world, as we found out in Desert Storm, where the United States, along with its allies, was out there in a leadership position saying that freedom is precious not only for us, but for all people. And I think as the young people come into this high school in years ahead, I hope that aircraft will remind them of the sacrifices that many have made so that they can come to this school as a free people, that they can have the opportunities that are part of Alliance High School, and as a second part of the symbolism, that they can soar in their own lives, be aviators, pilots of their own destiny and their own future, and that this will remind them of those two precious rights we have: freedom as individuals and the right that provided by the taxpayers in an education system to, in our own lives, soar to the highest plateaus, the highest opportunities, the highest achievements that we choose to make as part of our future destiny. So I know that this airplane will be an inspiration for many generations that come as they are part of the Alliance High School program. And again, congratulations to all of you that have made this possible.
The next part of our program is to present to you two young men who took part in the flying of some of our jet airplanes. And I would like especially the young people, the aviators, to listen, please, to the accomplishments of these young men. And believe me, role models such as these young men are what we need in this country today. The first gentleman I'd like to introduce to you is Lieutenant Commander Mark A. Filippic. Lieutenant Commander, if you would stand, please, I'd like to read a bit about Commander Filippic. He's a native of Ohio and a graduate of Kent State University. He graduated with a degree in aerospace. He was commissioned an ensign in the Navy in October of 1980. He received his wings in April of 1982. Following flight training, he completed 2 Mediterranean deployments aboard the USS Independence, participating in Operation Urgent Fury in Grenada and operations off the coast of Lebanon in 1983. In addition, he has served in Japan. Shortly after Iraq invaded Kuwait in 1990, Lieutenant Commander Filippic was drafted by the Blue Hawks of VA-72 aboard the USS John F. Kennedy in the Red Sea to augment pilot ranks during Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm. He flew 22 combat missions over Iraq and Kuwait, including the first and last U.S. Navy coordinated strikes of the war. Lieutenant Commander Filippic has over 3,000 flight hours and 400 carrier landings in naval tactical jets. His awards include the Navy Commendation Medal, 2 Navy Achievement Awards, in addition to several unit awards. After his duty here, he will return to Jacksonville as the department head and completion of his Hornet training. Lieutenant Commander Mark A. Filippic.
Thank you and good morning. Certainly not used to being in the spotlight, but it certainly is an honor and a privilege to be invited up to my home state and join you all for this dedication ceremony. I certainly appreciate all the efforts of the committee and the community, and good choice of airplanes. I've really enjoyed flying the Corsair over the past 9 years. It's been a great jet. It's gotten me through a lot. I also like to thank my family especially, because without their love and direction, I never would have made it out of high school myself. Last fall, I was guilty of a little bit of underestimation. I can't speak for my squadron mates and a lot of other military men and women, but I was certainly surprised at the support of the American people, as evidenced by cards, letters, packages, the news that we got over there. It was absolutely tremendous. And I sort of felt bad that I underestimated you, because I never would have expected that kind of support. But let me tell you, I can speak for all military men and women that nothing makes a military person prouder or work better than the support of their country behind them. And we certainly do appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Also here this morning is Commander John R. Leanhouse. Commander. Commander Leanhouse was born in Bryan, Texas. He was a graduate of Oklahoma State University with an aerospace engineering degree. He was commissioned an ensign in 1974. He received his wings in 1975 at Kingsville, Texas. Following his flight training, he reported to VA 174 for A-7B training. During his tour, he completed 2 Mediterranean deployment and North Atlantic NATO deployments aboard the USS John F. Kennedy. On this tour, he became the first fleet landing signal officer to cross-train in the F-14A and fly it concurrently with the A-7 off of the ship. Commander Lienhaus returned to VA 174 as an instructor. In 1982, he flew the A-7E with VA 72 and the F-14A, making one Mediterranean and Indian Ocean deployment and one North Atlantic cruise aboard the USS America. He was selected to be the Naval Air Force Atlantic Fleet Landing Signal Officer in 1983. As operational readiness evaluator during this period, he flew with every East Coast fighter squadron and most light attack squadrons from every carrier in the Second Fleet. He was also deployed with the USS America and the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower. In August of 1988, Commander Lienhaus surpassed 3,000 Corsair hours and became the second youngest aviator in U.S. history to achieve 1,000 carrier landings as a lieutenant commander. As executive officer of VA 72 during Operation Desert Storm, he accumulated over 100 combat hours in 24 missions leading strikes into Iraq and Kuwait. Commander Lienhaus has logged over 5,000 hours piloting more than 35 different military, antique, and civilian aircraft. His awards include the Navy Commendation Medal, Navy Expeditionary Medal, the National Defense Medal, Armed Service Expeditionary Medal, 3 Battle Efficiency Awards, and several other unit awards. Commander John R. Lienhaus.
Good morning, Alliance Aviators. Without a doubt, Mark said it, Flip, my trusted wingman there, said it very well. We are extremely honored to have the pleasure of being here today representing what I and Mark and all of our comrades feel is probably one of the most dynamic aircraft ever produced and flown in aerial combat in U.S. history. 1 week from today will mark the 26th anniversary of the Corsair. And that's an illustrious history that spans every conflict that this country's been involved with since 1965. Having been placed into combat in 1967, the A-7 Corsair, the airplane you chose as your symbol for the school, started a tradition that is probably not going to be beat by any other aircraft. It's the only one that participated not only in Vietnam, but as well in Grenada, Libya, Lebanon, Panama, the praying mantis exercise when the Stark was shot in the Persian Gulf, and then most recently in Iraq and Kuwait in Desert Storm. During those 25 years plus, the A-7 surpassed 100,000 combat missions. The loss rate was minimal. Vietnam, we only lost 55 airplanes. That's pretty phenomenal. In the most recent adventure in the Persian Gulf, the A-7s, 2 squadrons, VA's 46, our sister squadron, and the one Mark and I are with, VA 72, surpassed 750 combat missions, over 3,000 combat hours, delivering 10% of the entire Navy Marine Corps expenditure of high explosives, that being 2.25 million pounds, downtown Baghdad. It worked. It was a workhorse. It symbolized the strength of our country. I hope that it symbolizes the strength of your football team, your baseball team, your scholarships, your debating team, because it was a teamwork between the man and machine and all the coalition forces. It represents a major mark in naval aviation, and it's really a pleasure to see it placed at a high school such as yours, to hopefully be that the spear that leads the way to other great and illustrious achievements in your future. This airplane led the coalition strikes that first night on the 17th of January, right there alongside the Tomahawks and the F-117s, and I'd like to think that it's going to lead the tip of the spear for education in Ohio and Alliance. I can't think of a finer place to put it, and it sure beats going to the boneyard. So I thank you again for giving us the opportunity to place it here and for you choosing such a fine aircraft to represent your school. Thank you very much.